Understanding your ideal avatar, the who, is the most critical first step in any content creation, in doing sales, in building a business, in any art and expression. The more clear you can become on who you are speaking to, who you are creating for, the more successful you'll be. Now, I've heard this before in the coaching world. Is like, you gotta understand who your ideal client is, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of I understood it, but I never really applied it. But once I applied this idea, I really wrote out, like, how old are they? What do they look like? What are their fears? What are their struggles? What are they into? What are their goals? It revolutionized not only my book and my writing, revolutionized my client work, it revolutionized how I create content and how I speak, right? So your ideal avatar, I'm going to lay this video out and I'm going to talk about sales and where this idea in sales. But then I'm going to talk about how this can totally reconstruct and re-inspire your work and creativity. So in sales, my friends, in selling, if you speak to someone and you're just telling them all about your product or service, and you're like, oh, I'm really good at doing this, we do accountability, and this is all the value you're going to get, the people are like, oh, cool, right? But if you speak to that person and you lay it out in front of them exactly what they're struggling with, right? And you're just like, yo, like, you're really struggling with discipline and addiction and blah, 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 and this, and like, they feel so seen and heard, and all of a sudden they trust you and they want to buy what you have. They don't even need to hear about what you offer, because if you can totally understand what they struggle with, right, then they believe that your product or service is going to help them with that. Okay, the same thing now. So that revolutionizes sales, but this idea also revolutionizes content, right, and creation. So I had this book, I'm writing this book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons, coming out soon. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be amazing. And I was writing this book and, I thought generally like, oh, I'm just writing this for people into personal development and philosophy, right? And I wrote like that. And then I got an editor and I started reading through it and I realized like, damn, like in the first half of the book, like I'm writing for like philosophers and critics and academics. And then the second half, I'm finally starting to like write to someone. And I had to go through a massive reconstruction of everything I did when I realized, you know what? I am writing specifically to young men. I'm going to claim that boldly. I'm writing to young men who are interested in personal development, who struggle with addiction, discipline, complacency, and fear, right? I'm writing to a very specific young man. I thought of all the people I know and I kind of like conglomerated about 3 or 4 of them into this ideal avatar. And then all of a sudden, my entire tone of how I introduced the story, how I introduced the book, how I wrote each section changed, because I'm not writing to a general mass. I'm writing to somebody. And this is amazing, my friends, because here's the thing is you cannot please everybody. And if you try to please everyone, you will end up truly relating to and inspiring no one, right? If you piss off half the people who read or like consume your work, but you super relate to the other half, you're going to be far more successful than someone who kind of pleases a lot of people, right? Now, this is scary when it comes to creativity and, your work, your craft. It's scary because all of a sudden it narrows you. It's like, oh, I would rather leave this open-ended. I would rather leave this for the general masses. But the thing is you're probably not good enough to reach all the general masses. And also, like, the world's so big. There's so many people in it, my friends. Like, if you narrow yourself, there's still a huge pool of people in there, right? So knowing who you're writing to, right, who you're creating for is so important. It's the first step in creating YouTube videos. It's the first step in writing a book. It's the first step in anything. And I didn't have this step right for a long time. And because of that, my old channel didn't grow to the level I wanted it to be. My creations didn't have the impact I really wanted it to be. And also my business wasn't as successful as it could have been. Now, after you know your who, now you can do something beautiful. Now you can say, you know the who, you know exactly what they struggle with, and you can exactly and completely solve that problem. That's what great work does, especially if you're in a self-help, service industry. You're helping people solve problems, and that's the value you are exchanging for money, right? In helping people solve problems, if you can know exactly what their problem is and solve it completely, you're going to be a huge success, rather than someone who helps solve many problems, halfway or mediocrely, right? Choose one problem and solve it completely, and let that inspire and determine what you create and how you do it. Thanks for being here. This is Wisdom Warriors. I'm Christian. If you guys enjoyed this message and you guys want to talk to me one-on-one, link in the description below for a free session with me. Furthermore, if you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit that bell notification for more videos like this. Appreciate all your feedback in the comments below. Peace.